All right, hi everybody. Hope you're doing great today. Here's what we got going on today. So just like the other day, we're going to be doing some more equations. We're going to make some more flip and fold notes to help us solve these equations. But I do have a warm-up problem for you here. So let's go ahead and you can pause the video and think about how do I solve this equation for x. So go ahead and do that now. If you need maybe a helpful hint, you can stay on with us and we will solve this one here in just a second. Alright, first thing I need to do is the distributive property. So I need to distribute this negative 5. Ooh, that's really, no, that's a marker. We don't want that. I need to distribute negative 5. There we go, maybe. Okay, into both of these terms here, negative 7 and positive x, or positive, this is really a 1x here. So multiply negative 5 times negative 7, all right, that turns into 35. And then multiply negative 5 times this positive 1x, that just turns into, right, negative 5 times 1x, that'll turn into a negative 5x. All of this is equal to 95. So here's our left side and right side of the equation. I need to move 35 from the left-hand side all the way over here. So the opposite of this, well, this is really a positive 35. So the opposite of a positive 35 is just negative 35, or subtracting 35. So that's what we're going to do on both sides. Left-hand side cancels out. I'm left with negative 5x is equal to 95 minus 35. That's just 60. And now we're home free. Divide by our coefficient of negative 5. So both sides get divided by negative 5. And I'm left with x being equal to negative 12. Great. Okay, so there's our warm-up. Let's go ahead and first things first, let's take a look at our notes. All right, so today's equations look a little bit different. All right, we still call them multi-step equations, but I've got something different. I've got variables on both sides, the left-hand side and the right-hand side, on my equation. So here is kind of our steps to how we will solve these equations. So distributive property, if I see that, right, that is step number 1 for me, right? So if I see, right, the distributive property, here's your steps, guys, right? Step 1 is the distributive property, right? Once I'm done with that, then we'll combine any like terms. Once we get done with combining our like terms, we're going to move our variables all over to one side. All right, after we move our variables, then we're going to move our constants, right? Those are just our numbers. And then finally, once we get all that done, we will solve for our variables. So a few more steps today. So go ahead, pause this, let's get everything written down here. Once you get done with that, then flip over to the notes and we'll get moving on those. Alright, so you're back and let's take a look at our notes now. Alright, so as mentioned, again, here's our steps listed out, right, on our left-hand side over here, right? Here's our steps, which we will refer back to. All right, eliminate any parentheses in step 1, right? That tells me I need to use the distributive property. Step 2, combine any like terms, right? We're going to be left with maybe a couple variables that we can combine, maybe just numbers that we can combine. All right, then we always use opposite operations to move from our left side to our right side, or vice versa. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of that. All right. So here we go. So let's take a look at this equation that we've got going on over here. All right, let's zoom in. Here we go. So here's what one of these things looks like, right? All kinds of craziness happening here. Step 1, distributive property, right? So I'm going to distribute 4, right, into 1 and into 5x. Everything else stays the same, right? So let's write everything else literally just like we see it. We're not going to mess with anything. All this other stuff stays put. Now we're going to multiply 4 times 1. Well, that's a positive 4, so we write plus 4. A very bad 4. We're also going to multiply 4 by 5x. That turns into 20x, right? Or positive 20x. Okay? Done with step 1. Step 2 says, go ahead, combine any like terms. I've got a like term here and here. Again, nothing's going to combine with plus 4. The right-hand side of our equation stays put for now. Negative 8 plus 20 turns into just 12x. Alright, so we're done with that. This is where our equation looks a little bit different, guys. We've got variables. I've got x's on the left side and the right side. Okay. Again, here's your line if it helps you. My rule of thumb is to move the smaller variable. So I've got 12x and I have negative 6. Smaller number, negative 6. So I want to move that over here from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. So let's do the opposite of negative 6, or subtracting 6 is just positive 6, or adding 6. So let's do that to both sides. Cancels out over here. All I'm left with is negative 14. 12x plus 6x is 18x. And right, we didn't do anything with this plus 4, so we'll leave it as is. Now let's go ahead, and I don't have a choice. I need to move this plus 4, or adding 4, over from the left side to the right side. Again, do the opposite thing. So it's adding 4, let's subtract 4. Right? Subtract 4. It cancels out here. I'm left with 18x is equal to negative 14 minus 4, negative 18. Alright, we're home free now. Divide by our coefficient. Divide by our coefficient. As I run out of room, x is equal to negative 1. There we go. Okay, so a few more steps in there. Alright, slow down, take your time. Remember, step 1, move your variables together. Alright, that's our new step for us. That's step 3. Then step 4, move all of your numbers or all of your constants. Alright, back together. Alright, as we know, alright, we could definitely check our answer, right, which is what this talks about right down here. Right, so absolutely we can check our answer. If you'd like to see how that works, well, here we go. I can show you how that works. We know negative 1 is our answer. So everywhere I see an x, right, I'm going to plug in negative 1. And then I'm going to add, multiply, and see what happens here. Remember, here's our two sides of our equation. It says all this stuff, right, all this stuff right here is exactly the same as all this stuff right here. Well, let's see what happens. So let's plug in negative 1. I see an x here, and here, and here. So remember, two things are next to each other. That says multiply. Okay, so let's fill in here. So this is 1 plus, and this is 5 times that negative 1. And this is negative 6 times that negative 1 minus 14. So it looks like we've got some multiplying to do and some adding. So negative 8 times negative 1 is 8. We're going to leave the 4 alone. This is 1 plus 5 times negative 1. So 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. 1 plus negative 5, negative 4. Right? All that should equal, well, over here we've got negative 6 minus 1. I'm sorry, negative 6 times negative 1. That's positive 6. And subtract 14, didn't do anything with that. So we can simplify a little bit over here. This turns into 8 plus. This is negative 16. And then this is going to be equal to 6 minus 14. So let's go ahead and simplify these. So 8, if I add that to negative 16, I believe that I get negative 8. Over here, 6 minus 14. If I subtract 14 from 6, I believe I also get negative 8. So here you go. We look at this and we say to ourselves, yep, this is a true statement. Negative 8 really does equal negative 8. So that's how we know we got the right answer. Okay? So that's how we can check our work if we would like. In the meantime, though, let's hop to some practice here. So if you feel comfortable, right, this is where you guys need to be honest with yourself, work at your own pace. And I'm going to solve these over here. I don't really have a lot of room. Great. So we'll solve these over here, and we'll go from there. If you need to pause the video and you want to work on your own, do that. If you want to listen to me ramble on aimlessly as we solve equations, well, that sounds like a great idea. Okay, so here we go. Our first equation, I've got negative 16 equals negative 4 minus 6x. I tell you what, we'll just work all the way over here. It won't be that bad, I promise. I'll write really small. Okay. Step 1, distributive property. Don't have any. Step 2, combine like terms. Nope, I don't have any of that. Step 3, okay, move your variables together. Well, I only see one variable. All right, so we're going to leave negative 6x here. So that puts me all the way down now. I think step 4. So let's move our constants together. So that means move negative 4 from the right-hand side over to the left-hand side. Opposite of negative 4, right, is a positive 4, or adding 4. Negative 16 plus 4, just negative 12. All right, this is canceled out, and now this is equal to negative 6x. Here we go. One-step equation. Divide by your coefficient. Divide by your coefficient. And this turns into x being equal to 2. I see that right here. That must be our answer. Awesome. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, other choices were negative 10 or negative 2. I think 2 is the right answer there. So let's take a look here at number 2. All right. Okay. Distributive property. Don't see it. Combining like terms. I do see that. 7n and this negative 4n. Those are like terms. So let's just combine those right now. 7 minus 4 is just 3n. Everything else stays the same, right? Equals 12. All right, now let's go ahead and move our constants together. So negative 6 or minus 6 needs to move from the left to the right. We do that by the opposite, so adding 6. All right, 3n is equal to 18. All right, now we should be getting pretty good at these. Divide by 3, divide by 3. I get n is equal to 6. All right, hopefully we see that somewhere. Yep, sure do. Ooh, that's not a circle when it does that. There you go. Okay. Moving on, number 3. Ruh-roh, we got a fraction here. Don't worry, guys, we can handle this one. So we're going to go ahead and multiply 1/2 into both of these terms. So 1/2 times x, that's just 1/2 x. 1/2 times negative 2, right? Well, that just turns into negative 1 or minus 1. Okay, 5 stays just where it is. We need to move subtracting 1 or negative 1 from the left to the right, right? So we can do that. Yep, here's our, let's make that line a little longer. So let's add 1 to both sides. Add 1 to both sides. I'm left with 1/2 x equals 6. And I know we have a fraction here, and there's a couple different ways that you can solve these. So as to not confuse you the most, I would say treat this problem just as you would if it looked like this, guys. What if it was 2x equal 6? Well, we would divide by 2. That's our coefficient. I understand that we have a fraction here, and while it might not be the best mathematical choice to make, let's just divide by 1/2. Okay? So over here, I'm going to divide by 1/2. All right, here a half divided by a half, that turns into 1. All right, so those go away. 6 divided by 1/2 turns into 12. Okay, So 12 is our answer on this one. I see a pattern emerging. Okay. Onward we go. Number 4. All right. I see 16x over 2. Then I see minus 2 equals negative 9 plus 7x. I believe we can simplify this 16x over 2. So let's go ahead and do that. Right? That really says 16x divided by 2. Well, 16 divided by 2, that's just 8x. All right, let's leave everything else the same. And now we've got one of those that has x's on both sides of our equation. So I see 8x on the left, I see 7x on the right. I pick on the smaller variable. That happens to be 7. And I'm going to move that all the way over here. So 7x is going to move from the right to the left. It's a plus 7x, or adding 7x, so the opposite of that is subtracting 7x. So let's go ahead and do that. On the right hand side, we know that cancels out, and all I'm left with is this negative 9. And 8x minus 7x, well, that's just 1x. You can write 1x, or you can just write x. Either way is fine. From here, we're going to do the opposite of subtracting 2, which is to add 2. So we'll do that to both sides. And we're left with our 1x equal to this negative 9 plus 2, which happens to be negative 7. All right, so that finally we broke our pattern. That was our third answer there. Okay, let's take a look at number 5. All right, we've got just a few more to do. We've got 4 more. We're halfway there. All right, keep going. All right. First one here. So I see distributive property finally. All right, so we're going to distribute 2 into both of these terms right here, x and 3. So this turns into 2x plus 6. All right, didn't do anything with plus 5 or 25. That's a very bad 25. There you go. I do have some like terms now, right? 6 and 5 are like terms. So 2x didn't have anybody to combine with, but 6 and 5, they're on the same side, so whatever their signs tell me to do, we do. Plus 6 plus 5, right? Positive 6 plus 5 gives me positive 11. All this still equals 25. From here, we're home free. We're a two-step equation now. We should be getting better at these. 2x is going to stay put. 11 is going to move from the left to the right. What's the opposite of adding 11? Well, just subtracting 11. Okay, cancels out here. 2x equals 25 minus 11. I'm going to guess that that's 14. And now just divide by 2. Both sides divide by 2. 14 divided by 2 is just 7. Voila, there we go. Okay, moving on. I've got another fraction, 8/10 x. Minus 9 equals negative 5. Okay. We could simplify this fraction if we wanted to. You could turn that into 4/5. If you wanted to make it into a decimal, you could do that. I'd just say let's just leave it as 8/10 for now. And let's go ahead and let's move this 9, all right, away from it. So we're going to move 9 over here to the right. So it's a negative 9 or subtracting 9. So we're just going to add 9. Okay. Be careful here. This is still 8/10 x. And negative 5 plus 9 is just 4. Okay. From here, think about our other one. This is 8/10 is just your coefficient, right? We're just going to divide. Well, it might not be the best mathematical thing to do. Let's just divide by 8/10. All right, we can do that. So I know all of this just turns into 1. And when we do that, that turns into a nice number. That just turns into 5. All right, so there's our answer there. A couple more to do here, 7 and 8. All right, again, you know, if you need to, pause this. You can work through these on your own. If you'd like to listen to me ramble on, hey, let's go for it. Distributive property here on number 7. So we're going to distribute this negative 4 into both terms, negative 6x and negative 3. Watch your signs on this one. Okay, 12 is going to stay put. Negative 4 times negative 6, positive 24. Negative 4 times this negative 3 is really positive 12. Okay, if we don't distribute right, we can't get this problem correct. This is one of these weird ones here. Pay attention. I need to move this 12 right away from my variable to the left-hand side. Opposite of adding 12, well, you guessed it, just subtract 12. Okay, cancels out here. We're just left with 24x. 12 minus 12. Okay, don't think you did anything wrong. I got 0 here. Okay, that's all right. Here's what this says. This says 0 is equal to 24 times some magical number, right? Again, a variable is just a number we're not familiar with. We all might be able to guess what number times 24 gives us 0, all right? But our process would still be the same, right? I would still divide by my coefficient of 24. 0 divided by 24, right? Okay, that's okay. We can take 0 and divide it by any number we want. We end up getting 0. So this one looked a little weird, all right, but at the end I think everything worked out just fine. We get 0. And we made it. We're on our last problem now. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead, and this one doesn't look too bad. All right, so step 1, distributive property. I don't see that. Step 2, combining like terms. I don't have any of that. Step 3, get your variables on one side. Nope, I only see one variable. It's right here on the left-hand side. So step 4 is get your constants, get your numbers together. All right, so this means negative or minus 23 needs to move, all right, over here to the right-hand side. Opposite, add 23, right? Opposite over here, go ahead and add 23, all right? So we've got 29 plus 23. I think that should turn into 52. All right, this went away. I'm just left with 4x here. And divide by our coefficient of 4. All right, and this should turn into, I believe, the luckiest number of all, 13. There we go. Okay. All right, so we made it on these 8 right here. All right, here's what we need. Oops, we don't want to do that. Here's what we can do now. So we've made it through the practice, right? We've got our flip and fold notes. Again, if you're not sure, right, use your notes, right? They go through all the 5 different steps. Sometimes we use all 5, sometimes we don't. Okay, but that brings us to this right here. So here's your homework for tonight. So it's these 14 problems here. Again, they start off, they don't look too terribly scary, but they increasingly get worse and worse if I keep looking on here. So there's 14 of them, so let's do our best to give these ones a shot for tonight. All right, don't forget, if you always need more help, go to my website. You'll see all kinds of different games and stuff to help you get some more practice with solving equations. All right, talk to you later.